Why do you think it's important to retell stories like this in times like this? And in times like this, I mean, we're in a pandemic and we don't see such a bright future right now. So why do you think it's important to retell this story?
What was so shocking to me about making this series and thinking about the history of it was that the Vietnam War was going on at the same time that we were trying to go to the moon. And it was a little bit after the time period that we're talking about in the right stuff, a few years later. But and the civil rights movement was happening. There was all these huge things happening in the world at the same time that the space program was happening, and so many things that must have felt at the time impossible to get through. And yet here are these people putting their minds towards something so much bigger than all of us, so much bigger than our planet, so much bigger than our tiny moment in history. And they were able to come together and accomplish something really spectacular. And for me, this is an important story for this moment because it shows that it shows how generations of people can add on the work of each other in order to do something that we previously considered impossible. I think in particular for the way that it addresses sexism and women's rights, I think it's also a really important moment to share that story, to see how far we've come from the 1950s and 1960s, where women and people of color were not allowed access in the same way that they are now. And then also to reflect on how much further we still have to go. So for me, that's what's really exciting about telling this story in this moment.
How do you feel about this inclusion of female perspective?
I think it's crucial. It's crucial, not only from an audience standpoint of capturing my attention. I'm not interested in watching something that's just about the wives standing by the men's side and being like, oh, good for you, honey. But also I think it's crucial to the truth of the story, that these women and the astronauts' children, their families, they made this happen, like they were they might as well have been a department in NASA and have been getting paid because they very much were performing a job and a function for this program to succeed. And I think the show does a good job of showing that and bringing that to light.
How did you enter this project? Did they come up to you and tell you, we have a part for you?
I wish they had come to me and been like, here's this role we want to offer you. In fact, it was quite the opposite. I hunted this role down. I found out about it because my fiance was up for a character in the show, and I was working with him on the material. And one of the scenes had Louise in it, and I was just instantly enchanted by her and captivated, and by the writing. I was like, wow, this is really great writing. I want to read this pilot. And as soon as I read it, I called my manager and said, you have to get me an audition for this. I think I'm perfect for this role. I love this script. And for like a month, I hounded her. And she's like, I've called casting. They're going to bring you in. They're just not ready for that character yet. And so this was an instance in a way where I feel like I proved to myself that I have the right stuff, which I think we all have, by the way, because I was like, I want this thing right here. And I'm going to work my butt off until I figure out how to get it. And I made it happen. And really, it's mostly because the world was so fascinating, but the writing was so good and brought out so many different layers to the characters in the story that I was like, this is special. This doesn't just come along any old day. And I really want to be a part of it.